The Trinka podcast, academic writing done right. Hi, my name is Dr. KK, and I'm very excited to welcome you to part one of my conversation with Apurva Nagvekar, the principal data scientist of Crimson AI. So let's get to it. Apurva, we are very excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, KK, for inviting me.
Apurva, I know you very well. We've had long conversations about everything under the sun, I suppose. But could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So I'm working as principal data scientist in Crimson AI, where my responsibility is to build machine learning models for tasks like grammar error correction, paraphrasing, and to emphasize the academic writing. So that's my primary objective, and that's what I do in Crimson AI.
Excellent. So we as in the Trinka AI team and Crimson AI as a whole cater to the academic community, right? Academic researchers and publishers. And you have a storied academic career. I think you've published over 10 papers and you've had stints in multiple universities. So how has your journey been transitioning from the academic, let's say a background, proper academics, to a role like what you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. So I started my career as research assistant in Goa University, where I was primarily involved in several government-funded projects in natural language processing, and my involvement was to build NLP resources for Indian languages. And since I'm from Goa, our responsibility was to build resources for language Kokani. And there we built several resources like Morph Analyzer, part of speech tagging module, OneNet for Indian languages. And it was not just our university who was working on it. Different universities from India were also involved in building these modules.
I see.
So then after my MTech, I moved to industry, and then I started working in NLP applications.
Do you miss being in the academic circles?
Yeah, I do miss that out. But since what I'm doing right now is closely associated with academics, I do keep in touch with them. I occasionally meet them, discuss them, right. What I do, what they are doing, and keep myself updated with the latest trends that's happening in NLP.
Great. So you used a couple of terms that I would like you to define in simple ways. So maybe you can start off with NLP, natural language processing.
Yeah, sure. So NLP is nothing but it's the ability to make machine understand human language. And this is an extremely difficult problem because if you talk about human language or human languages in the world, then there are around 7,000 spoken languages. And if you talk about India, then in India it has around 700 spoken languages. Now making machine learn all these languages is extremely difficult task, right? So now even if you talk about English, it has a lot of resources, it has a lot of digital presence in it. Still there are a lot of issues in making machine learn English language. And now when you talk about 7,000 languages, this becomes very difficult problem to solve. Right. Yeah.
And another thing I was curious about is Morph Analyzer, if I'm stating it right. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, sure. So, if you talk about NLP, I'll just give you a brief context about it, and then I can talk about Morph Analyzer. So, what you see nowadays, you see a lot of data, but data is just a tip of an iceberg. But if you want machine to learn human language, then it should be able to understand the nuances present in the natural language, and that primarily involves lexical dependencies, then synthetic dependencies, semantic dependencies, and so on. And Morph Analyzer is one of the core component, or the first component that comes in the NLP whenever you want to solve anything. Now Morph Analyzer talks about the nature of the word, how the words are represented in a language. So if you consider any word, you just consider a word like playing, then what morph analyzer do is like, it just breaks that word into smaller morphemes. Now morpheme is nothing but the meaningful part of that word. Now if I consider a word like playing, then play and ing are the two morphemes present in that word, and it tends to identify the properties behind it. So now here, if I give you the same example like playing, then play becomes the root word, and ing basically is a suffix, and it talks about that it is doing something, and ing signifies that is a verb,
Right.
and it has different properties for that particular suffix.
Right.
Similarly, like morph analyzer has there are two types of morph analyzer. One that talks about the inflectional morphology, and the other one talks about the derivational morphology. And when you talk about inflectional morphology, what I gave you, what example I just gave you, that is playing, then like where the word can be broken into two morpheme, that is play and ing. Similarly, you can consider any example like there is this grounding, say, then there's a ground and ing,
Right.
played,
Right.
play and ed.
Yeah.
So this is nothing but this is inflectional, and derivational talks about in this like the word itself changes. So you have this word like logic, and if you add al, then it becomes logical. So from noun it goes to like becoming adjective. Same thing, word like help, if I add r to it, then it becomes helper. So from verb it goes to becoming noun. So the analyzing this properties and like it's nothing but like what morphological analyzer do.
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot in this last 5 minutes. Maybe, Apur, maybe we should have more episodes where you break down other concepts in NLP as dedicated episodes. But thanks for this. I'm sure a lot of listeners and viewers will also sort of learn more about these concepts. Now, the hot topic around the world is ChatGPT. And in the Trinka podcast, the last couple of episodes were dedicated to language models in general and ChatGPT and its effect on academic publishing in general. And that I would like to sort of present it as my own view on what it should be. So I mean, it's a sort of an opinion. It's not like a research on what it could be. So I want to ask you this question: if you have been working with ChatGPT and the different variations of it in the context of Crimson AI and the products that we are developing, but as an academician, what do you think the impact of ChatGPT will be maybe in the next, let's say the next 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, or something like that? I mean, just giving you some timeline so that you can think about it like that.
So what has happened nowadays is like because of these large language models, you consider any problem in NLP by just providing a few data sets or like doing some sort of prompt engineering. You are getting sufficient decent results into it. Like consider any example, like any application in NLP, like whether it is like grammar correction task, what we do, or translation task, what is basically it is one of the hottest topic in NLP, where you have to translate from a given text from one language to another. Now all this is possible because of this large language models. And just mere like adding some prompts, you can easily solve it. Now that's one example. Like if you talk about coding, then if you just tell ChatGPT like write me code to write me a programming code in Python to do this particular task, then it will give you some decent results. So what I think is like lot of things is achievable using this module, like large language models, but like to get there, like to get like really good results, we might have to do some tweaks around it. And currently whatever we are doing, like so according to me, like one single model may not be able to do all your tasks,
Right.
but you may use that model and fine tune it on your specific task, then it will do wonders.
Right.
So for that now, like earlier, like before GPTs or like before transformer, people were heavily dependent on like data set, like preparing their data set, getting features right, and then training the model. That entire thing has been changed now.
Right.
And model can learn by providing just text, just the data, like just textual data, and if you do some level of optimization or like features addition in the training data set, then the model will be able to learn.
Right. Right. So, do you consider it as an overall as having a positive effect in the academic researcher space, in the sense academic publishing space, or should people be worried? I mean, there are a lot of conversations about whether such models will take away jobs, take away roles. For example, I started as a copy editor in medicine and life sciences. So technically, there are conversations around in the copy editing circles whether the role of an editor is going to sort of go away because of these things. So, what are your thoughts on those?
So I think we all should take it in positive manner, because human mind always evolves, right? And it has to be backed by some sort of assistant to it. And what I feel is chat GPT will emphasize or enhance the human mind, and the traditional as a researcher, you have to spend so much of time in writing paper. Some few people spend a lot of time in writing paper and then actually doing the research. So that will be enhanced, right? I mean, now you don't have to spend so much of time in writing paper because there is some model that can help you in writing the paper for you, and that can be definitely improved. And there's a huge potential that it can be improved drastically, where you have this language model that will do literature survey for you or literature review for you, and you'll get the data, get the report in a sort of summary, and you don't have to read entire papers, all those papers, like thousands of papers. Right. You can just read 10 or 12 pages, whatever summary it's able to generate from it. So,
see, I think you and I are on the same side of the spectrum, where we are very optimistic and positive about the effect that, let's say, a generative GPT, a transformer model, large language model like Chat GPT or GPT 3.54 will have on the academic space. And I am also, I mean, that's a way I think I framed my opinion in the last episode. So I'm happy that we are on the same page with regard to that.
Yeah.
So I genuinely hope that you had as much fun as I had while having this interview with Apurva Nagvekar, the principal data scientist of Crimson AI. The Trinka podcast aims to cover all things related to academic publishing and language technology and AI, and conversations with experts like Apurva is one other way that we hope to broaden the understanding of what language technology could offer for the field of academic publishing. We publish on all major podcasting platforms, so if you're listening to us there, please rate us 5 stars. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification icon so that when we publish our next episode, you'll get a notification. And if you like the content, please share with your friends and colleagues. If you have any thoughts on the episode, you can leave a comment on the YouTube comment thread itself, or you can reach out to us via social media. Just search for Trinka AI. We are there on all major social media networking platforms: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And you can also find us, for our Chinese listeners and audience, on Weibo and WeChat. And you can also write to us by email. Just write to us at podcast@trinka.ai, and we would love to hear from you. And I guarantee that I'll try to respond to each and every one as fast as I can. So that brings us to the end of this episode of the Trinka podcast, Academic Writing Done Right. And on behalf of the entire crew behind the Trinka podcast series, this is Dr. KK signing off. I'll see you in the next one.